This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
Guess one other way that I use the Helix every day, even if I'm not using an actual piece of hardware, I tend to have Helix native on a bus. I'm just actually exporting this on a bus where my clean guitars and stuff go to. Don't tell anyone about this. This is a secret, but this does some kind of synthy stuff. And yeah, in this project here, I was actually using Helix native, which I still think is a huge benefit to the Line 6 ecosystem in general, is that you can run it without hardware. That's still, you know, pretty unique. But like here, this is just a preset that I run with dynamic plate on it, shimmer, and a bit of ADT. So this I use all the time as well, like I'm using on the rhythm guitars here, to kind of get things out of the center of the field. So I have things panned hard left and hard right on a tape reel, so that basically they get out of the way of the center of the stereo field. Kind of creates a bit of space. Just some other cool things about Helix that I dig as a Line 6 hater. So I've been embroiled in a game of 4D chess for far too long, and I thought it was time to set the record straight. Before we get there, it's been a difficult few days. The dog is doing okay, but she's quite highly strung, so we're trying to keep her rested for 4 weeks basically, because she had 2 discs on her back explode as a sausage. That's what they do for some reason. So it's been a bit of a challenge. So I'm trying to fit in videos around sort of looking after the baby and her. Anyway, it's the whole thing. But thank you for people who, you know, left comments wishing the dog well. She seems to have come out of surgery good. She's still using her legs and stuff, so that's a plus. So I did a video kind of exploring my relationship and what it is with Line 6, and thumbnail was something like, am I a paid shill for Line 6? Because I feel like it's a thing that some people kind of must think sometimes. And I got a very interesting comment from someone who I assume must be a very regular viewer, very switched on. And this chap said, hell no, you are not a Line 6 shill. If anything, you come across as a Line 6 hater. On a per video basis, you mention Fractal a lot more. You're in fact a Fractal shill who also tells us how great it is at every damn opportunity, but sometimes mention other modelers in an attempt to sound balanced and appeal to the less wealthy members of your audience. So I've been rumbled there. I did reach out to a couple of folks that I talked to at Line 6 for comment, and I got some responses which I just wanted to share with you. So one was, your payola's in the mail, regrettably it's in Dogecoin, as we're all clueless, insufferable crypto bros. So that was one comment from someone who really does work at Line 6. And I had another comment which I asked for. John's not a Line 6 hater. In fact, his tongue feels absolutely fantastic on my balls. So that was nice to read. So yeah, anyway, if you hadn't noticed, like almost every single video that I make, and there are a lot, I tend to be using an HX Stomp. Myself and David Beebe were chatting, I think last night or the night before, about how much the HX Stomp has come along. Now, at the moment, I wouldn't necessarily go out and buy a full Line 6 Helix. I think in terms of the flagship stuff, there's, other competitors out there which are priced not dissimilarly that can do the same things and maybe a little bit more. The thing is that if I already had a Line 6 Helix, I don't necessarily think there's too much competition from some of the new stuff either. So, there's not necessarily a reason to jump, but there's not necessarily, I think, a compelling reason to go out and buy a Helix in this month of 2023. I do still think the HX Stomp is probably the best value piece of gear that I could have ever bought if they hadn't sent me one. I did a video talking about that, the history of that. About 2018, they sent me one to check out when the channel was just about playing jazz, basically. Yeah, it's been my daily driver ever since. I saw actually also there was a video that Paul Hindmarsh did for Line 6 where it was talking about some of the additions and the things that have meaningfully changed. I think the Stomp has benefited from everything that Helix has had, but on top of that, there was 2 extra blocks added to the HX Stomp. So when it first came out, it could run 6 blocks. Now it can run 8. And there are 60 additional amps from when it first launched. 53 additional cabs, as well as the complete cab overhaul, which I think really made quite a big difference and has made a difference to how much DSP you can use. 194 additional effects, and not only that, it's oversampling more than it was when it first came out, so you get less aliasing. So on things like higher gain tones, you get essentially less mud and stuff happening, and aliasing is the thing. So in theory, things should sound a bit more natural and a bit clearer than they used to. So I don't think I'm a Line 6 hater, to be honest, because this is genuinely the thing I use. And to be honest with you, if push came to shove, I could probably just use this every day and never really bother with anything else. I think I'd probably be pretty happy with that. But it wouldn't be a very interesting gear channel, would it? The tone I was using in the introduction, I put together something with the Brit 2203, which is their latest, greatest Marshall model. So yeah, if you want that, jump in the gun road. The thing that happens to coincide with this, though, is that I think there is another competitor which probably fits in the conversation quite nicely. I do work every week, I make a video for G66, but I think this has a great price to feature and amount of algorithms ratio. Fractal, and this is why I think it's worth talking about it, even in videos on my own channel, which I'm not being paid to make, also have a fantastic price to stuff ratio. And I think in terms of if I had a desert island thing, I think Cliff could get hit with a bus. Hopefully he doesn't tomorrow, and it would still take many years for the other companies to catch up to what Fractal actually did in terms of the sheer amount of amps, the sheer amount of effects, and all of that sort of stuff. If you wanted a Bogner Ecstasy, if you wanted a Morgan AC20, if you wanted a bunch of Dumbles, if you wanted loads of Marshalls, loads of Fenders, the Fractal ecosystem really does have more than all of the other stuff. And that's also one of the reasons that I talk about the Fractal stuff too. I think there's a reason that people tour them, and there's a reason that Line 6 actually make things in the way that they do now with the free updates. Ben Adrian has said so in a podcast that essentially Fractal showed that it was possible to bring out a more expensive modeler and then support it with updates going forward. That people were willing to do that. They created essentially the market for an expensive modeler, is what Line 6 themselves even say. So there is that. I don't think I'm a Line 6 hater, but I'm not necessarily super fan of every single thing that they do. For instance, like the Fender Tone Master FRFR, I feel like they got that more right than the Line 6 Power Cab. Now that I've played both, not every Line 6 product is necessarily going to be for me, but the HX Stomp is the one that I like the best. So, yeah, more videos with the HX Stomp coming, obviously.